Canada has just defeated Romania 3-0 in the first leg of their European tour in this window. What does it mean? Well, let's talk about it. So guys, welcome to What Does It Mean? It is our game reaction series. Do a lot of Canadian matches, but then we'll also be covering on Sunday. If you aren't already there, we'll do a full recap of the CAF World Cup qualifiers. Chaos personified jumping in, and we'll talk about that as it goes through. But we're here to talk about. So if you like this type of content, we do primarily Canadian and African content. So if you like this content, make sure you leave a like, comment, subscribe. Leave a comment as to who impressed you if you watched the game. If you're listening here, what are you looking forward to the next game? But we're here to talk about the Romania game and everything that it entails. So guys, let's get right into the action here. And first thing you do in any type of these matchups, it's always acknowledge the team you played. Now Romania are walking into this in a very intriguing way. They have a half window, so effectively they are playing one game in World Cup qualifiers and they had a friendly. And so in the same thing with Wales, Wales are actually going to be playing us after their World Cup qualifying match. Romania used this as a warm-up game for theirs, so it's something to keep in mind as we go through. But Romania looked good in different aspects. Definitely liked a lot of what I saw. It's funny with the Romania, seeing the side, a part of me harkened back to the days when Canadians and Romanians were fighting over the likes of Enes Sali, who was captied young by Romania, Theo Corbeanu, who was captied by Canada and could have made that 2022 roster for the World Cup. Eric Pop, who played youth for Canada and then played youth for Romania as well. There's a lot of connections when it comes to both of these countries, but love what I saw from them. It was great to see them in an environment where they aren't the favorites, Canada that is. Playing on foreign soil is always a fun opportunity, though they won't have to do that too much at the World Cup. It's still something you want to enjoy and go through. But Romania, I think they're heading into their World Cup qualifiers, and it will be very interesting seeing how they take lessons from this game. I think in transition they looked good, and some build-up they looked good as well, but Canada was just on the button pressing as much as they could, as much as they wanted to, really. But Romania, I think, though they lost 3-0, I think they showed well enough, other than that goalkeeping issue, that goalkeeping goal, which was very Haiti-esque. If those of you aren't from CONCACAF, look up Canada versus Haiti World Cup qualifiers, you'll understand what we mean. But Canada starts in their 4-2-2. I think the interesting thing was they went with as strong a lineup as possible. So in the back, you have Max Crépeau, Nico Sicker, Luc de Foucherel, Derek Cornelius, Richie Larea was the back line, then Tejan on the right, Ishmael Kone, Stefan Eustachio, and then Ali Ahmed on the left. And then up top you had Taniolo Shea, and then Jonathan David. With no, 3 of the 4 backline aren't healthy to play, but it was great we saw Davies getting healthy and training at Bayern, so it's good to see. I am curious to see where that window is in the November window, whether they actually let them go play or not. But that's another side. Johnson has a hamstring injury, probably going to be out until November as well, and Moise Bombito will be probably back, we're hoping, October, so we'll have to wait and see with that. But in this lineup, how many roles are up for grabs, right? I think Max Crépeau is one. You have Ali Ahmed, I think his left-handed winger midfielder, I think Liam Miller, depending on what form he takes, will be an interesting player to take a look at. I know he scores a goal there, and I think the front two is the front two. I know we're still having conversations in terms of who are the best players for this type of system. I heard Alex Gongaverzic say it the best. I think Tani's floor is a lot higher than the other players based off how Jesse Marsch wants to play. And Jesse Marsch wants to press in that sense, versus a player who can hold up, versus a build up in that type of a 9. Tanny is the player for that. Which again makes me curious in terms of who is the Jonathan David replacement if you have to take him off the pitch. We had Junior Hoylett today, which could be that player, but we'll have to wait and see. But that to me is the fascinating thing. Who is that player? Because I think wingers are set. I think Liam Miller is who you'll watch. And then maybe Jayden Nelson. He misses a golden opportunity to score in this game. But I think for me, those are the spots that are open. One midfielder, the goalkeeper, and the left midfielder / left winger. Those 3 spots in the starting 11 are up for grabs, and we'll kind of wait to see how that turns out too. But so the game starts off well. We're using SofaScore for the ratings and numbers that we're using. So for that reference, make sure you guys check that out to see how some of the other players rated out. But first goal off of a set piece. Jonathan David in the 11th minute, left unmarked, puts a header onto frame. It's 1-0. We scored off a set piece. In this economy, since when we can afford such things? We're able to do that overall. Good matchup. Get to the 22nd minute, Ali Ahmed puts in a goal where the Romanian keeper just fumbles the ball on his feet. I said it's very Haiti-esque. I think that is the best way to describe it. Just the goalie just misplays it. Enough pressure is created, and then they go. Actually, not Haiti-esque. To go to a Woso standpoint, I think this is like a goal for the Canadian sicko soccer fans. This is the goal that Deanne Rose scores against England right before the 2020 Olympics in 2021, where she presses the goalkeeper, and again, that's probably the closest resembling goal I've seen to it. Right, so you have that goal in there. The 22nd minute, Ali Ahmed scores that. And then Nico Seger scores in the 77th minute overall. Players and things that stood out in this game. Honestly, Ali Ahmed had one of his better games. I was having a conversation with On The Rise in terms of, is this the best performance they've had? I won't go with it. I think they were better in different spaces. They were creating, and I think they were clever in that just the score could have been much worse for Canada, but then Max Kripa also made some good saves for Canada as well, where that goal, where Romania could have got back into it. Marking on the back was a little bit left much to be desired, which is something you're always concerned with. When you watch those pairing of center backs, you always think that Moise Bombito really does erase a lot. And then you add in Alphonso Davies. Their defense is very forgiving, but in the moments in the transition where they give up chances, those are going to be available, especially with this group. So I think it's very important for Marsch to start to figure that out, and whether that's not pushing through. At different points you had Derek Cornelius making runs into the fray to create things, and also Derek Cornelius as a set piece taker. We might as well figure it out. It's a friendly. Let's go and create. Is this one of the better performances for Canada recently? Yes. Is it top 5 for me? Probably 5. I think their Belgium performance will always be stuff of legends to me. The Ukraine matchup is a good one as well. Their USA friendly after Copa America, the Uruguay matchup, good matchups as well. Like, it's a good performance. I won't get too carried away for it, but I think players who really afford themselves good opportunities, Ali Ahmed, I think, did a good job of pushing and showing that maybe he can play at that level. I do wonder with a player like Kone, who was a little bit upset to come off the pitch. He was playing well. I think if the plan is to play him against Wales, good call. If not, it just doesn't look good for Ishmael Kone if he's yelling at the coach already. He looks more like the malcontent, even though it is more about just wanting to play. And that's going to be unfortunate that the video at Marseille is always going to be there. So ultimately, he's going to have that reputation following him. However passionate, however great he feels, or however annoyed he is, we're always going to assume, oh, there's a malcontent going again. So it's something that he has to do a better job at. But I think he afforded himself well on the pitch. Stacked it as well. Cornelius and Fujiwara, I think there was a moment in the second half where, no, it was the first half. Luke Fujiwara sees that he's holding the line up. He's drawing players onside. He steps up in time and cuts off a couple passes. That maturity, that ability to kind of see that works well. And I think if he can continue to play well, the player he's looking to push out of the lineup is possibly Cornelius. I don't think he pushes him out, because I think between Cornelius and Bombito, those two do create that power / speed dynamic in your center backs. I don't know if they're big enough there. That's always going to be a question. Now, this is coming from an era where we watch the Victorias of the world, the Scott Kennedys of the world, who I think could do well in this type of a system, but he needs the form first. A Joel Waterman as well. Nico Seeger getting a goal, I think, rewarded a good half of play. He struggled a bit at the beginning, getting caught off in lane. Some plays come through him. But I mean, that's Alistair Johnson's spot. And those are levels, and if those are the players who are coming off the bench, if your Seeger's coming off, if Ali Ahmed is coming off and providing some pressure, I think that bodes a lot well in terms of trying to keep up the pressure and that high pressing system that Marsh is trying to play with. I did appreciate him trying to see out the game near the end, about the 80th or so minute. I did appreciate him bringing on players to lock down the game, right? Where he brings in the Hoylett, Promise David, Joel Waterman, and Zoran Basong from the 77th minute on. I think that's good. I would have liked to see that a little bit sooner, just because once you brought in Nathan Saliba and Jadon Nelson in the 64th minute, I think you saw a pickup come from there. There's a reality with, if you're going to press all throughout this system, they're not going to last. Right? This system isn't one that's built to press, and these players aren't built, I believe, to press for 90. No one really is. And so I think it's very important for them, and for Marsh especially, to figure out that 60-minute switch. I think he has to be a little bit more aggressive with it and swap it so that if he's going to try to press for that long, so that the energy keeps up. I think that's important for that, because if not, they're going to start to run out of steam, and then you're going to run into a situation like the Uruguay game where you're up, you're still pressing, but then you leave yourself open to back and forth pressing and just opportunities and breaks. But overall, great performance. Joe David, what can be said about him? Again, the question for me is, who is the player who replaces him? Now, ultimately, though, he came off for Junior Hoylett, and maybe Hoylett becomes your Joe David, not his replacement, but a player you play in that roaming 10 and actual 10. David plays as a second striker 10, but Hoylett is more of a attacking midfielder 10. I think if you had that, that could be a good dynamic to play off of, like a Kone, Eustachio, a Saliba, a Mathieu Chouanière, whichever midfielders you have set. I think that'd be very curious to see what they're able to do with that. And Hoylett looked class when he came in. I think he is set for like a 20-minute player to come in who can defend, who can drop into different spaces, but also who can spring a break, who can pick a lock with a pass, who can thread the needle, the through ball. I think he's the perfect type of player for that. So I think Hoylett against Wales will be curious to see. I wonder how he looks at this next game. I would love to see some rotation. I think we did miss an opportunity to see a player like Jaquilo Marshall-Ruddy. They come in. I think I'll be very much curious to see what they do with the lineup. Because, again, most of the substitutions came in starting in the 64th minute. Kone came out early. I think if you're trying to save him to bring him on a little bit later, you do that there. Ahmed came out as well. For the next game, they are going to have Jacob Schaffelberg available because he served his 1-game ban. We're never going to run away from the allegations that we're rigging this. Now we can serve bans and friendlies. Victor, come on now. Just treat us fairly. But 3-0, guys. Who were your players of the match? Who stood out for you? I think for me, I loved the game that Stefan Eustachio had. To me, he's my player of the match. If you look at SofaScore, highest rated Canadian is Ali Ahmed, followed by Nico Seeger, and then Jonathan David, goal scorer bump, with Derek Cornelius, Daniel O'Shea, and Richie Larea with 7 threes and 7 5s overall. Love the game, guys. Let me know what you think about it. And as always, I'm going to stop talking right here.